You know, what if our bodies are trying to tell us something that we've just been ignoring? Today, we are diving deep into Dr. Gabor Mate's incredible work on this profound connection between our emotional lives, chronic stress, and our actual physical health. It's really a journey into the hidden language of our own bodies.
And get this idea that our minds and bodies are linked, it isn't some new age fad. We're talking more than 2,000 years ago. The philosopher Socrates was calling this out. He saw it as the great error of medicine, this idea of treating the body without even considering the mind.
So that begs a huge question, right? If we've had this insight for literally millennia, why does this split between mind and body still dominate so much of how we think about health and sickness? Well, let's unpack some of the big myths that are keeping this error alive and well.
Okay, first up is the big one, this belief that getting sick is a purely physical thing. Like it's just a random genetic hiccup, or you were just unlucky and caught a bug. But according to Monte's research and a ton of science, it is way, way more complex than that.
This is where the science gets super exciting. There's a field called psychoneuroimmunology. And yeah, I know, it's a mouthful, but it provides the hard evidence. It basically shows that our thoughts, our nervous system, and our immune system aren't working in separate departments. No, they're one giant interconnected super system, and they are constantly talking to each other. So here's how it actually works. It starts with an emotional threat. Think chronic anxiety or maybe anger that you've pushed down for years. That emotional threat triggers a very real physical alarm in your brain. That alarm floods your whole system with stress hormones like cortisol. And when that cortisol level is always high, it can actually change and suppress your immune defenses. It's a clear biological pathway from your feelings to your physical health.
Okay, this brings us to a really sensitive idea, and one that gets misunderstood a lot. This notion of a cancer personality, or that some people are just built to get sick. I mean, that can sound an awful lot like we're blaming the victim, right? But Maté argues that's completely missing the point.
This is so crucial to understand. We have to draw a line between blame and responsibility. Blame implies you did something wrong, that you have a flaw. But responsibility in this context isn't about fault. It actually means our ability to respond. It's about having the power to respond to our lives and our bodies with awareness. It's empowering, not judgmental.
So the real connection here isn't some kind of character flaw. It's about these deeply ingrained coping styles that we all learned just to survive our childhoods. Things like always having to be the nice one, or taking care of everyone else's feelings but your own, or just burying powerful emotions like anger deep down. These were survival strategies, and they worked, but they also put the body under immense chronic stress. Let's look at a famous example that really brings this to life. Lou Gehrig, the baseball legend whose name, tragically, is now the name for the disease ALS. He was called the Iron Horse for a reason. He had this extreme sense of duty and a complete inability to say no. Not to his team, not to his fans, and most importantly, not to his own body's needs.
And this number, this just says it all. This is the physiological cost of that coping style. He played through 17 separate fractures in his hands. Just let that sink in for a second. 17 times his body screamed out in pain. And 17 times his sense of duty forced him to just ignore it. It's the ultimate physical metaphor for refusing to listen when your body says no.
All right, let's tackle our third myth, and this one is everywhere in our culture today. The idea that all you need for good health is to just think positive all the time. Maté flips this on its head with a much more powerful alternative.
We've all heard this, right? The second you're facing a tough time, someone chimes in with, just stay positive. And look, it's usually meant to be helpful, but a lot of the time, it's just another way of telling us to ignore what we're actually feeling.
But here's the game-changing question. What if that forced positivity is just another kind of denial? What if real, true healing actually demands the exact opposite? What if it requires the courage to look directly at what's negative, at what isn't working?
And this is what Maté calls the power of negative thinking. Now, this isn't about being a pessimist. Not at all. It's about a courageous and honest self-inquiry. It's the willingness to ask these tough but crucial questions. What isn't working in my life? What emotional signals have I been ignoring for years? What is my body screaming no to, even while my mouth keeps saying yes? Okay. So we tear down all these myths. What's left? Where do we go from here? Well, Maté offers a really constructive path forward, a path to wholeness. He calls it the 7 A's of healing. Let's walk through them. First up, acceptance.
This is the starting line. It means truly acknowledging our reality just as it is, not as we wish it was. Because you can't start healing from a place of denial.
Second is awareness. This is the day-to-day practice of tuning in, listening to your gut feelings, and picking up on your body's subtle signals. It's about learning to hear the whispers before they're forced to become screams of pain. Third, and this one might surprise you, is anger. Maté says we need to reclaim anger, not as some destructive rage, but as a healthy, empowering signal that a boundary has been crossed and that it needs to be protected. Fourth is autonomy. This is all about developing your own internal compass so you can start making choices based on your authentic needs, not on some old, compulsive drive to please everybody else.
Fifth, we have attachment. Healing is not a solo mission. This is about our deep need to find and nurture supportive connections, places where we feel safe enough to be seen and heard for who we really are.
Sixth on the list is assertion. This goes beyond just knowing what your needs are. It's about having the courage to actually declare them, to affirm your right to exist, and to have your values respected. And finally, the seventh A is affirmation. This is that forward-looking step. It's about connecting with a sense of purpose, with creativity, and with a larger connection to life itself. So when you boil it all down, the biggest takeaway from Maté's work is this. Our bodies are constantly speaking to us, through feelings, through impulses, and yes, sometimes through illness. The question isn't whether they have something to say. The question is, are we willing to finally listen? What is your body trying to tell you?